Good afternoon, guys, and thank you for stepping into the File Playland. As always, I am your File Player. Wanted to make this video discussing what I think Bob Arum is plotting on doing regarding like trying to cock block fucking Andy Ruiz or a unification going down. Love, fuck up! I'm doing a video. You. My bad. So this and I'm doing this video partially. I guess my inspiration for doing the video was a IFL TV video that um, Bob Arum did with Kugan Cassius. In the interview, he's sort of discussing Kubrat Pulev's current situation, saying what like directly regarded to that interview or the interviewer, the reporter that was interviewing Kubrat Pulev. I'm not going to mention her name, who Kubrat Pulev gave a kiss to, which it was later found out that she was at an after party with Kubrat Pulev and his promoter and his people. She was giving lap dances, and then she tried to sue Pulev for sexual harassment. I think the fight that Kubrat Pulev won that night was for an eliminator with the IBF, a belt that Anthony Joshua at that time was holding, and which is now held by Andy Ruiz when he beat Joshua on June 1st. Moving on to a different subject, which has to do with Bob Arum. Well, actually, before I even get onto that, Bob Arum was saying all kinds of shit, which I kind of like a point that I would like to make. Bob Arum was saying all kinds of shit, that the girl was a slut, that he was warned by a commission. I'm not sure who. It had to have been the IBF if it was directly related to Pulev, that they wouldn't allow him to slut shame the girl, which I guess is a popular term being used now, in which if you call a girl out for being promiscuous or for sleeping around, that you're in turn shaming her for doing such. And he was warned not to do so, but in the interview, he's kind of like calling her a slut. I mean, I think he outright refers to him calling her a slut in a past video, and he's sort of doing it in this video that came out this morning. And I wanted to say that because with people, they get so up in arms. Like, I mean, and I'll move on to the subject at hand, but people get so up in arms. Like, for instance, like when we go on recent history, where they were pissed off that Deontay Wilder said that he wanted to catch a body and he wanted to kill Brazil. Stuff that athletes say and do all the time. Like athletes say in football that they're looking to kill somebody. They don't be saying it in interviews, but I mean, it's a fight sport. Like, I mean, like, it's not so out of pocket to say stuff like that. But meanwhile, you have this guy that's not even a fighter, who was warned not to do so, as far as calling this person who's in some sort of a legal case with one of his fighters that he's representing. He's warned not to slut shame her at the very least. And, I'm pretty sure that nobody's going to be up in arms for him, calling her a slut. Personally, I don't want to make it seem like, that's like what I'm trying to plant my flag for, and like, that I'm offended by him doing that. I was actually more offended by Bob Arum's take on Al Haymon advising Errol Spence, and that he could picture Bob Arum telling Errol Spence, "Hey, brother," kind of like making it seem like, like he knew, like kind of using like what was widely considered as like black lingo or whatever have you, fucking and like that nobody gave a shit about that. And I think that was like right on the heels of like um Barry Hearn like using that slave trader remark when it was referring to fighters that he represented in the past. I mean, like, neither one of those cases people were up in arms about either one of those promoters' statements, but people were trying to dry snitch on Deontay Wilder, um, you know, saying that he wanted to catch a body, trying to get him in trouble with the WBC. And this was like people that like Dillian White's brother. Dillian White had shit to say about it, I think. Um, you know, and it's some bullshit, like fucking you're pissed off about you're trying to like really go at a fighter like any way you can, like to try to bring some sort of demise his way, and you kind of like let these promoters rock by saying stuff that's sexist. I mean, at the very least, some people would consider it sexist, racist. I did consider what Barry Hearn said and what fucking what Bob Arum said as racist, you know. Um, and those things kind of get swept under the rug. I'm pretty sure they're not going to bring any sort of traction in Bob Arum's way regarding the statement that he made this morning. Moving on though, I think that Bob Arum is staking his horse to Pulev because at the moment Pulev is suspended for 6 months, according to Bob Arum. Um, so I think he's trying to stake his horse on Pulev because that's his direct line to the IBF belt and Andy Ruiz. You also heard in the past like week or so, like where Bob Arum was trying to throw a monkey wrench in the WBO and making it to where this fight that Tom Schwartz and Bob and Tyson Fury are having what could be an eliminator or a fight for the WBO belt if Andy Ruiz takes up his rematch with Anthony Joshua, which is some bullshit because he just won the fucking belt from Joshua. But Bob Arum, as we all know, has a lot of control with the WBO. I mean, Andy Ruiz said that he was gonna go to San Juan and meet with the WBO at their offices in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Who knows how that's gonna go? Like fucking but the Bob Arum's piece of shit ass has always had a lot of clout with them. But I think he's trying to make a play at fucking one, like stopping a unification match that doesn't have to do with a fighter that he doesn't represent. But and this is on both ends as far as the IBF, which I mean I think on both instances with the IBF and with the WBO, he has a like outside chance at having a bone to pick. With IBF, Pulev is the mandatory, no doubt. But, his stupidity or the gods, whatever have you, have him on the sideline right now because of him fucking kissing a reporter with the fucking big ass gash on it, on his head, fucking during an interview while the cameras are rolling. With the WBO, I mean, like, although Bob Arum has had a lot of push or a lot of pull with the WBO in the past, I mean, we all know this. A lot of people say that WBO stands for whatever Bob orders. That's also like an outside case. It's gonna seem like stupid if they award the winner of Fury Schwartz with a WBO belt just for them fighting each other and for Andy Ruiz taking on the rematch that was already set in his contract. That's gonna cause a little bit more friction or uproar than just letting sleeping dogs lie and like maybe making the winner of Fury and Schwartz a mandatory down the line, if you will, because that would put us a couple steps closer to unifying the division. One thing I will say, I mean, what I hope happens, I mean, like Al Heyman is this enigma behind the scenes and almost like a shadowy figure with a whole lot of clout. We all know that Bob Arum can't stand Al Heyman, and I hope that this is the time in which Al Heyman really puts the clamps on Bob Arum. I mean, and this is a great opportunity for what I just mentioned before. In that, with both instances, with the his case for Pulev, like Pulev is currently on the sidelines and like dealing with some sort of litigation, in regards to this reporter that he fucking kissed. Um, Tyson Fury, Tom Schwartz winner also have a outside chance because Andy Ruiz just won the belt earlier this month. So I mean, like I think Bob Arum should put his money. I mean, or Al Heyman should put his money and his influence to really squeezing um, the IBF and the WBO um, into making a decision that's going to cause less uproar. I mean, the biggest hater of Wilder, of Ruiz, or the biggest lover of Anthony Joshua, who may be spited that he just lost the belts, would consider um, a decision that would award the winner of Fury Schwartz to hold that belt for them fighting each other as a stupid decision. You could be the biggest hater and you'll still like say like that's pretty dumb, like that they came to that conclusion. Um Kubrat Pulev, I mean like he's a mandatory at this time who's on the sidelines like for at least 6 months from the date of the offense, which I'm not sure when it was when he kissed that reporter. But he shouldn't even have a bone to fucking pick. He's on the sidelines. He has to go through a sexual harassment class, like according to Bob Arum, which from the sound of it, he still hasn't completed the class of yet. So he should be on the sideline at the very least till 6 months, as they already stated, and to the conclusion of him finishing that fucking class. So I mean, like, Bob Arum always finds a way to fuck up fights and to be a pest. And I think this would be one really, really good time for Al Heyman to really stick it to Bob Arum. I think this would be like one of his this could be a death blow, honestly. Like I mean like or damn near a death blow if Al Heyman and the people that he represents. So I mean mostly Andy Ruiz, because it's the belts that Andy Ruiz holding that Bob Arum's trying to cock block on. But it would be a real death blow that Al Heyman could administer to fucking to Bob Arum if the people that Al Heyman represents come out on top with all this. Which I mean honestly is the logical fucking solution that should come of all this. But Bob Arum is a snake piece of shit who somehow like finagles his way into things turning out favorably for him. I fucking can't stab Bob Arum. I mean like I think it's stupid when we fight each other saying that Bob Arum wants this fight. Like Bob Arum's history is not having fights being made. I mean like I think he's really supposedly pushing for the Spence and Crawford fight now because Crawford has nobody to fight. But I mean, when push comes to shove, I think, and the numbers are really thrown out there from Bob Arum's mouth, Bob Arum's not going to accept anything less than 50-50. Like, I mean, like, and that might be a bone of contention that they won't get past. And I think a lot of people will put the onus on like Errol Spence and his camp to get that fight made and cave into Bob Arum's wishes. Which I mean, like, of course I want the fights to be made, no doubt, but I just can't stand when pieces of shit like that get their way. That's all my time. Like fucking, I'm gonna watch the Tom Schwartz Tyson Fury fight later on. If I'm not watching it and I can't get nobody to hold me down for my job, I'll be listening to the call, Marlo's Corner. And if you could, please go subscribe to Marvel's Corner. Subscribe to my brother, Michael Johnson, Boxing, Talk, and More. Subscribe to my other brother, Lowe's Dawkins, the Pimpin'. Make sure you join me, Michael Johnson, Boxing, Talk, and More, Lowe's Dawkins, the Pimpin', Alex Santos, and other contributors to the show when we go live on Michael Johnson, Boxing, Talk, and More. Subscribe to the Cali Enigma. Subscribe to World Breaker Fighting. Subscribe to Phenom Boxing. Subscribe to Blood Boxing Live. Subscribe to Retro Boxing. Damn, I don't know the full channel name. Blood's other channel. Fuck it. Subscribe to all of the LDBC, man. Shout out to the whole Lions Den boxing community and the real boxing community. With that, I'm out. Peace.